Hello everyone, welcome back to Marvel Mania. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
Today we are going to tackle X3, The Last Stand, or I guess X-Men 3, The Last Stand. You know, on the cover it looks, it's X3, but nobody ever calls it that.
You know,
yeah,
they're not wrong. We have not had an X-Men film set after this movie yet. Well, I guess Wolverine, that was an X-Men film. Like,
yeah,
it
and of course the future of Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the last straw, certainly, that is the reason that all had to happen. But, yeah, it's actually still a somewhat appropriate title.
Yep.
Weirdly enough.
I always bring it up with Freddy's Dead Final Nightmares. They never actually technically made any movies after that. They did Freddy vs. Jason, but that's not the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was technically the last one, as opposed to Friday the 13th, the final chapter, which is part 4.
Yeah, we do that a lot, where we'll pretend like it's the last of something.
The new one's part 13.
Anyway, so we are watching
those.
We are watching the very coveted X-Men: The Last Stand, and this is a movie that Eric has not been looking forward to watching because he's afraid he's going to be bored out of his mind, and I'm going to have to keep like hitting him in the face to keep him awake, which I'm perfectly willing to do.
It's not that I'm worried I'll be bored. It's that I'm worried I'll be bored.
That will make a boring video. Yeah. Certainly, when I did a commentary with Shades on this, we were it was kind of depressing for us because it was before Days of Future Past, and so we had a real tough time getting through it. I don't know that you and I will have that as much, just because things have changed now since this. That I don't know that I'm going to go back and I haven't watched this since then. I don't think I'm going to go back and have real different opinions about this movie, but it's hard for me to get as worked up about it as I once did. And so I don't know. It might be kind of fun in hindsight.
And I've always
to get to go back to,
always
or to go back to it.
Getting worked up about this movie, like it's such a dull letdown.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, this movie's competent. It's not like a hilariously bad failure. It's technically fine. It's just they made the wrong choice with every character.
Yeah, it's a counterintuitive direction. That tonally, it goes off in left field. But anyway, so let's go ahead and get into it and start watching it. If you want to watch it with us, make sure to get your DVD or Blu-ray, however you want to watch it. Get it to past all the menus and a timestamp 0, and get ready to press play when I say now. Eric, are you ready, sir?
I'm ready.
Here we go. We almost had one more commentary. Obviously, we're not done, but I just mean, here we go again. Here we go again. Everybody, please press play right now. We are right in the middle of our slog of not so good mid-2000s Marvel films.
Yep, we got Ghost Rider,
Spider-Man 3,
Fantastic Four 2.
This is what I have frequently lately been referring to as the growing pains period.
The Dark Ages?
When I, no, because the Dark Ages would be like mid-80s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Superman 3 and 4. They
That's
are still
X-Men
doing
stuff.
the X lingering. Wow, this, I don't remember this being this cool.
No, that was really cool. It was
Yeah.
it was a lot of like really distinct like X-Men things that you could see. Like there was some Astonishing in there, there was some Byrne in there, there was Lee in there. That was cool.
And major arcs. I do like the overexposed filter they put on the opening here. It immediately makes it look a little bit surreal, so that you know that something isn't quite right. And, of course, you'll find out immediately that what's not quite right is just that we're in the past, but it tells you that it's different.
Oh, it's so creepy.
And I like that, yeah.
It's so creepy.
And I don't remember that being that creepy in the theater. Now, certainly you could have just said 20 years ago, and you wouldn't have to make it look like this, but they try to, make Jean Grey here sort of scary, and I think it was kind of a smart choice to go stylized.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So Ian McKellen's pretty old there. Professor X is walking, but he's bald. And they don't meet Jean Grey when they're looking for candidates.
Yeah.
How does this make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, once you get into First Class and Days of Future Past, it just doesn't.
Why doesn't he look as weird? I mean, he looks a little weird, but not as weird as Patrick Stewart.
To the point where, when this first came out, I thought they only did the age effect to Patrick Stewart. Now it's there on the both of them.
It's just, for some reason, it's worse on Patrick Stewart.
And I really don't think Patrick Stewart even needed it.
No.
What he looks like at the age he would have been 20 years ago, not that different from what he looked like by the mid-2000s. Not that different. You'd have bought it more with him than you did Ian McKellen, I think.
And this is a thing that we still do. It looks weird in Civil War. It's this. We're just gonna digitally remove all your wrinkles, and for some reason that looks so creepy.
Yeah,
because that's what they did.
It makes your face almost look like a visual effect itself.
Yeah.
It's a little bit easier to stomach there because at least that's supposed to be like a simulation, even though nobody else looks like that.
Yeah.
At least it's not the Tron Legacy thing.
Yeah. That's Chris Claremont.
There's Chris Claremont.
There's Stan Lee.
I don't know who that guy is. Some old guy on his lawn.
That's Stan Lee.
Is it really?
He's been in all these movies.
Oh, wow. Man. It's just I never knew what he looked like before. Everybody always talks about how Stan Lee is the least caricaturable of all of the comic book creators.
Chris Claremont gets
Today's commentary will be spoken in lies. I'm sorry, what?
I said 20 years ago, 10 years ago. Is it 10 years ago like before the 20 years, or is it 10 years ago from... Oh, this is an awful scene. No,
then you would have had to say 10 years before that, because at least in like comic book lingo, we generally mean like before we finally put up the word today. You know, so we know there's a present day. We just haven't gotten there yet. And they are consistent with that because then they say not too distant future, and so it's 20 years before the not too distant future, and then 10 years before that, the not too distant future again.
Really? What even are these knives? Like they look like what is that? It doesn't look like a normal knife.
And they're just in that bathroom? Oh no, he brought that with him. Okay. I'm assuming that's a tool box he brought in there with him. So the question is... Okay, I guess that's not a question. I was going to say, does his dad not know about the wings yet? I guess they were just starting to grow in.
I'm going to steal a joke from somebody else who I don't remember.
Yeah.
That's not what he thought he was going to walk in on. He just went with the words he'd already planned to say.
Now let me go on record to say that I don't hate the score in this theme, but it's not Ottman.
I mean, we could have said that about last movie. We would have been lying.
What do you mean?
Fantastic Four.
Yeah. Yeah, that is Ottman, and it's not great.
Oh, look, we got the spinny thing. That thing that I want.
You always got to have that, yeah. So, are we messing with mutant DNA, or are we creating the Hulk again? I'm not. I can never tell.
I don't remember if that was in these commentaries or some random comment I had once talking to you, but I really want one of those spinny things.
We have talked about the spinny thing, but I don't remember if it's on camera. Eric and I live together. We spend a lot of time together. We never know if you've heard what we're talking about. And so, of course, we're going to force in a Sentinel here, and then later on we'll get to do actual Sentinels.
Hunger keeps inventing all of these problems.
So, once you stop... There's this commercial on right now that claims that Hunger is inventing new problems. And now Eric and I want to blame Hunger for everything. It's a candy bar commercial, right? Was it Snickers?
It's a new Snickers Crunch.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and the Snickers commercials for the last few years have been all about, like, combating hunger.
So it's interesting that we have this opening, given that we will get this.
Yeah. Good point.
We were planning for this the whole time.
Sort of supposed to look like... I never thought of that. This is supposed to look like the apocalyptic future. Yeah.
And we get a Sentinel. So they should have all been prepared for that. They've been training in it.
And inspired real hard by the Terminator, right?
Well, I mean, Days of Future Past predates Terminator.
No, I know. I just mean what this looks like. This looks like the Terminator to me.
I think that's kind of what it looks like in the comics. It's been a while since I read that.
That's true. That's true.
I love that shot.
Okay, maybe they weren't thinking that, but visually rendered reminds me of the Terminator.
I'm not sure if it's
maybe the Terminator was looking at Days of Future Past.
It's minds think alike, or if that's an intentional reference. But there's a shot that's just like that in Hard Boiled, which is a John Woo movie. Lighting your cigar or cigarette on like something on fire is always cool. taking you
It
back
is,
to
it is fun
Oz.
that we finally get the fastball special.
Yeah, but it looks weird because you can't actually physically do it.
Yeah.
Because he's a tall man. Like, that spin thing, that's not the fastball special. Fastball special's like that.
Yeah,
because you're throwing it overhand like a baseball.
Wolverine needs to be 2 feet shorter.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
And
2
Colossus
feet.
needs to be like 2 feet taller.
Yeah.
So that's not a bad Sentinel head.
No, it looks like a Sentinel head.
Yeah.
So if you
He
took
should have clawed his way out of it, right?
So if you took the Colossus from Deadpool, he could do it.
Yeah.
With this Wolverine, even.
But he should have clawed his way out of the head, right? Shouldn't have just walked out from behind it?
So was there any... Yeah, I agree with that. Was there anybody who... Oh, our danger room is certainly a big round room.
Yep.
Was there anybody who knows X-Men who went into that and thought it was anything but the danger room?
Probably.
I mean, we kind of throw...
Because we don't have the danger room in the previous 2 films.
But that's the thing is, I feel like, and maybe I'm remembering this wrong, I feel like I called that. Like, we kind of throw 2 things people have been asking for in your opening scene.
Mm-hmm.
At least your opening present day scene.
Well, and if you recall...
Like, where are the Sentinels and where is the danger room? They're both there. It would have been nice if there was some kind of a line about, like this is new technology, who invented it. Like, yeah, I guess the danger room could have been there and we just haven't seen anybody use it, but it might... I don't know. What do you think? Like, should we have established it as a thing, or is it okay if it's just there?
If we were just going to throw it in, I feel like you should do something with it later. Like, you need to be hiding from, like, soldiers invading and, like, hide in the danger room. And
that would have been
come
anything to do in X2.
Like yeah.
I feel like her accent is more southern than it was before.
Yeah, no, I agree. But Bryan Singer doesn't like accents. So
where did
Seemingly, he constantly takes characters who have thick accents in the comics.
So maybe that was Ratner going...
So maybe that was Ratner.
You know, Rogue, you're supposed to have a southern accent. Maybe you should start using it 3 movies in.
I like him here. I don't like what we're going to do with him, but I like how he looks and I like how he's playing it.
Yeah.
It feels like Cyclops to me. Especially if you read Astonishing, which they clearly read.
No! You don't say that! No!
I like that line too. I was gonna say something. Well, and obviously she'll do a Southern accent a bunch because her character in True Blood is Southern, I believe.
Oh, really?
I think so. So there are 2 casting choices that are made not by Brett Ratner. This is the only thing Singer does before he leaves. Is he casts him as Beast. I'll bring up the other one when we get to it. But,
and that was inspired.
Yep.
Just inspired.
And he wants to come back and reprise the role.
He is comic book Beast. Or maybe even more the Fox cartoon Beast.
Yeah.
Like, he's the Beast I remember.
Yeah.
And I just love that we get to immediately see him wearing a suit and that nobody's questioning it because we've been dealing with mutants for a long time and... So, there's a guy named Trask.
Yep.
No relation.
Nope.
He's just another Trask. I don't think they give him a
You'd
first name.
think here we would have brought up that she murdered the first Trask.
Yeah, I don't think they give him a first name. Yeah, because remember, that is first timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody, I think it's kind of weird that they don't try to make her wear clothes.
No.
No?
Only you are on about this clothing thing.
No, I can't be the only person, right?
Only you.
Is it only me? Okay, alright.
She's wearing clothes.
Yeah, right now. But it would make it really... she's an inmate, and it would make it very awkward for her to try to change shape if she had clothes on over her body.
Well, except she can suck in cell phones, so I imagine if they put any clothes on her, she can just suck them into herself.
Yeah, that's one scene, and they clearly were not thinking. Eric knows this is a valid point. He just won't acknowledge it because he wants to be a jerk face.
No, I don't care. It doesn't make sense. It's never made sense. This is not the movie where we're finally going to make this make sense. If we were going
I can't still talk about it.
I mean, and she wears clothes in first class. And I think Days of Future Past. And we do fix it eventually. Because she does wear clothes in those.
Yeah, but then there's this...
That's because the actress didn't want to wear the makeup, because she didn't want to go to work where she's getting paid millions of dollars to do her job.
Yeah, but she doesn't wear clothes when she's in her normal form.
She does. In First Class, definitely.
Well, yeah, no. She does sometimes, but it's not like... But that's just when they go on a mission. It's not like a thing she's normally doing, or even like looking like she's wearing clothes. We've already had this conversation. It's just... It seems like such a strange thing that you as a person would decide to do. Anyway... But we'll talk about that with First Class. With the whole you wouldn't put clothes on a
leopard?
A leopard, that's what it is, yeah.
This is important. Everybody pay attention to this moment. It's really important.
I wish I had that power. That would come in handy so much for me specifically. Man, if you're a writer, just being able to take your hand and do this, whatever you're thinking, becomes way better handwriting than mine. Oh boy, I would love to have that power. It's not a thing that's gonna make you an X-Man, but I forgot that kid's still here.
The eye flicky kid.
The Blink. I've seen this a few times. I never noticed that the Blink TV kid that stays up all the time. That's also if I could have his power to stay up all the time, combined with instantaneous note taking, I would become my favorite X-Man.
Well, you would want to be, I can't think what his name is.
I mean, I guess just having telekinesis would kind of handle all that, except being able to be up all the time would be a really nice thing to have.
Yeah.
Be really useful. What are you going to say?
I'm trying to think what his name is. Cypher.
Cypher?
You would want to be Cypher. I think it's Cypher.
I don't know.
There's a mutant whose power is he understands and can speak all languages.
Yeah, that'd be useful too.
He's a main character of New Mutants. Oh, and he's awesome in Second Coming.
That's not instantaneous note-taking, Eric.
Did you ever read Second Coming?
Uh-uh.
We should do that at some point. That was a more recent X-Men event, and it's really good.
Okay. Oh, I don't think I did. What happens in that?
That's when Hope comes back with Cable.
Okay, I don't think I've read that.
It's really good. It's also where Nightcrawler dies. And then gets resurrected immediately when Jason Aaron makes him
I don't think you should
pirate?
randomly, willy-nilly have some unnamed mutant with telekinesis. Because that's like a really powerful power, and this movie is somewhat about that. You just got a kid walking around with paper airplanes. Is that his power? He can manipulate paper? Is that what he does? It's got to be more limited than just straight up telekinesis, right?
He's a paper path.
He'd be way too important. Well, potentially.
So she now has the haircut that Jean Grey had last movie.
That's funny. We're doing a lot of these lines of dialogue where we're attributing people's powers to an emotional situation, and I like some of those lines.
And she's also behind the scenes. She has won an Oscar now.
Yeah.
And she demands that she's a more important character in this movie.
Right.
Even though she's not a good actress and she's poor for the role, and we've never known how to write Storm.
So
in
now
these
she's got to be the leader of the X-Men, and Professor X out of nowhere has to say, if something happens to me, it's you.
Now, to be fair, she is the leader of the X-Men in the comics. That is a thing that happens.
Yeah, it
doesn't make sense in these movies.
Yeah. Well, and if memory serves, they conveniently have a conversation about it before something happens to Cyclops.
I think you might be right.
So it's like we choose this moment for Professor X to say, you would be the leader, and then
because Cyclops is real sad.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, no, that's what it is. He's like, something's wrong with Cyclops. He's not acting right because he lost Jean Grey, so I'm going to need you to step up. That's what it is.
And he won't man up and just, deal with his issues. So, I could ease the pain with my powers, but I'm not gonna. Yeah,
I've learned my lesson. There was this one mutant, not going to name any names, where I, suppressed a personality, and that didn't go real well, so I'm thinking I'm not going to do that.
As far as he knows, nothing went wrong. So,
well, that's true. That's true. He doesn't know. Well, it's weird, though, right? Because This is real retconny, of course. We talked about some of why that is, and with X2, with the fact that the Phoenix clearly was meant to be something else, not this weird alternate personality thing. And at the end of X2, he clearly senses that she's back. And he's like, because somebody asked him if he's okay, and he says, I think everything will be. That was clearly intended to tell the audience he knows she's still around.
Mm-hmm.
It should have been a look of horror, if it's what it is here.
Yeah.
And he's very surprised to see her when she shows back up. So, unless that was supposed to imply something else at the end of that movie, we know what that was implying.
This seems to be a thing with the end of X-Men movies, right?
Where we have to...
boy. Where we just... Well, we kind of set things... I guess it's kind of a Superman movie thing, too. We talked about in Spider-Man 2, where, like, the ending of Spider-Man 1 is clearly supposed to hint she knows that he's Spider-Man.
And we go in a different direction from that, yeah.
We do that with a lot of these early Superman movies.
And one of the things that allegedly might bring a person back to the theater is to see how that plays out.
Mm-hmm.
And what we hope is that you don't remember the last 2 or 3 years in between, but... we have this thing called home video and now streaming. Like, people go back to these things. Some of us far too often.
So the whole Cure plotline is a huge mistake. That needed to be the movie, or Phoenix needed to be the movie. You can't do both. Of course,
yeah. And we don't talk about this very much. I mean, I don't think that would be a useful power too.
That's a comic book character.
To be able to go
Brett
between.
Ratner makes a big deal out of
Fat and Finn. Really?
Yeah, his name's Fat. Brett Ratner makes a big
Fat.
idea where someone's like, "There's a character in the comics who's fat and they can turn thin," and he's like, "That's awesome. We're putting that in the movie."
See, I always wondered if it was that or if it was the other way, where he's thin and he can make himself fat, or like he gets to just pick between them. And when he sits around the house, he really sits around the house. But I mean to compare these more often because I thought of this at one point, and this doesn't come up very much, but this does to maybe a lesser degree have the same problem Spider-Man 3 will, which is do Venom as your movie or do something else. Don't do both of those things.
Yeah,
That and Sandman.
Yeah. Well, and it's
Sandman
weird.
is an easy character to put with some other villain, but Venom wasn't the one.
Well, and it's weird because this wasn't a case of, well, you have to put the Cure in.
Right, there wasn't a mandate from the studio.
Yeah. I like how Psylocke looks in this. She looks pretty cool.
That guy's from Lost?
She looks real punk rock, and I like that.
He's the son of the leader of the Dharma Initiative in Lost.
And she's the second Slayer.
Oh, yeah! I remember really liking her.
She's fun. She's got Mr. Pointy.
Yeah. Wow.
And he's the worst. He's got the worst power in the world. He can only hurt you if he hugs you.
It's really useful if you can get somebody to embrace you in a lock like that, but otherwise...
And I think we do this with...
Oh, the class system thing. I hate that.
I hate that we introduce it here
Yeah.
and don't explain it.
No, I don't mind having it, but it needs to be there from the beginning, or you need to talk about how somebody has recently
come up with
this, and because it would be a useful thing to have, I suppose.
Yep. But we do this thing.
It could border on profiling.
She's Callista, but she doesn't have Callista's powers, and I believe Psylocke is also like I don't think Psylocke has like side blades.
Oh, is Psylocke one of those mutants?
She's the Asian girl with the purple hair.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, no, she looks cool. She was the one I was like, I like how she looks. She looks fun.
Right. I always thought that was funny.
At this point, you're just annoying us.
Yeah. I remember in the theater thinking that there was something immediately more mean-spirited about this movie, just right out the gate.
Mm-hmm.
So that little girl with that doing the super creepy face there, who is Mystique, reminds me a little bit of the little girl at the end of X2. I don't think it's the same person. It might have been cool if it was.
I believe this film is...
But this has been a couple of years, so that might actually be... I don't think it's the same little girl, but...
she sounds similar.
Although, that wouldn't really make any sense at all, would it?
Because she
Mystique couldn't have... she wouldn't have seen that, so...
But who's she
But
taunting?
that face reminds me...
Like, none of those guys know that.
Yeah, sure.
I believe one of the scripters on this film is Simon Kinberg, who we keep giving X-Men movies for some reason, and Fantastic Four movies, and like he's Fox's like Marvel guy right now. I don't know why.
Yeah, you mean during this period? Yeah.
No, I mean now.
Oh, right now?
He wrote Apocalypse.
Oh, did he write Fantastic?
He's the one who comes in halfway through and like rewrites it. And,
really?
There's theories that he directed like the second half of that movie too.
Yeah, that happens sometimes with things that the studio isn't liking.
This kid's so creepy.
Yeah. I think he does a good job, though.
I think he does a good job. I've always thought he was unsettling.
Maybe he's supposed to be a little bit.
I don't know. Oh, that's weird. That's never happened before.
Yeah, that becomes a real problem when we see Beast going back and forth and experimenting on himself and having it perfected in Days of Future Past. See, he doesn't have the kind of trade-off that Professor X does, because, like, what does he have to give up? His feet not being curved such where he can hang upside down on a tree branch?
And she's, like, kind of exactly a character from Astonishing X-Men. She's got the like, is it Hindu or Muslim, the dot?
Yeah.
In the comics?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have that here, but she's kind of right off the page.
And I wonder why they didn't give it to her here, because, I mean, that's the whole reason that you would cast Middle Eastern.
She's not specifically character-wise,
and she has that,
but she's clearly
she has that accent. She's in 24. I want to say, and I think I've seen her in a couple other things too. She's a good actress.
Do you think this time he stole Wolverine's motorcycle?
It's season 7 or 8. Oh yeah, most certainly. Sure. Although I don't know why he didn't just take his own motorcycle, because we know it goes a lot faster than that.
It's true. He's got
He could go really fast. I don't know what the point of that is. We never use it. We never use the super speed motorcycle.
Yeah, it's true.
That goes so fast it ripples behind it like your Clark Kent from early seasons of Smallville or The Flash or something.
Yeah.
Is it going Mach 13? Like, what is...
Now, there's a little bit of playing dirty here. So, the reason given for all of this is because he was busy shooting Superman Returns. As I understand it, he's done shooting Superman Returns when they shoot.
Right, yeah. I've had this conversation with Shades lots of times.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And I feel like he's better in this movie. Like, in the couple of scenes he gets, he's better in this movie than he is in the other ones. I wish we had him more.
I can't make that call. I don't feel like he gets anything to do, really. He gets to die.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that I had such a negative and almost visceral reaction to this movie in the theater was, of course, this like Professor X's death stacked on top of this, because he's been taken out early in both of the other movies. I think fans were already making fun of these movies for that.
Yeah.
And when he gets taken out here, there was not a doubt in my mind that he comes back at the end. And when he doesn't, and there's just a grave, there's just a headstone, I could not even believe that.
I kept waiting for him to show up in the third act because he's killed off screen.
Yeah.
So clearly he's not dead. Something else happened.
And I guess that's still possible. They don't have a body. They never have a body.
Because we kill Professor X on screen. We don't kill him on screen.
Yeah, and you don't have Professor X to jump in Cerebro and make sure he's still around somewhere. So there's really no way to know.
Yeah. So your hair grew?
But I guess he just disintegrated. Yeah, and you have a much deeper shade of red. See, when the evil personality is in charge, Eric, she has and it gets darker.
Yeah.
Now, make no mistake, Femke Jensen does some great stuff with her face in this. Mm-hmm. If we let her really play bad and have a personality, it would have been wonderful. I think she's a legitimately good actress.
I agree. No, she is.
And she has one of the really distinct faces of actresses in Hollywood, I think.
And this is
those eyebrows are unrecognizable.
That I think is also...
I mean, unmistakable is the word I meant to say.
I think is also in Astonishing. Because Astonishing's real big right before this movie comes out.
Yeah.
And this is maybe the only time any of these movies take anything immediately from what
just the
came
last
out.
couple of years in comics.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Again? We gotta go back to Algoy Lake again? And then we find out that Stryker is still alive!
And it looks completely different.
No, he's not. That's a joke. Nobody get excited. Stryker's dead.
No, and we're gonna keep getting Stryker, and he's gonna get worse every time.
Hey guys, there are no exits that way.
Yeah.
There are no exits that way, Wolverine. Dun 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 dun!
Walking downstairs.
Last time on Flight of the Navigator.
Or E.T. So misty. Oh man, there's a rock. That rock's not supposed to be floating.
There's a floating CG rock. Some of these rocks and sticks and things end up looking real bad.
Yeah. The water doesn't look bad.
Nope. It looks like a Bug's Life water. It's just fine.
Why do you lead with this?
We comment during these commentaries a lot more on the special effects than I tend to when I'm writing about movies, because of course I'm a story guy. But
yeah,
as you're watching a thing and discussing and reacting directly to what you're seeing, it's hard not to go, oh, what is that?
Why didn't she start with that? Like the second they walk down, why didn't she just go?
So that it could be a big giant reveal that there's all this stuff floating around and it's all surreal and strange, and
I don't hate her costume.
It looks like a PS1 level game.
I remember it looking worse. Maybe she was a different one later.
Effects. I'm not even talking about the effects when I say that.
Mm-hmm.
It just, for whatever reason, feels to me like a 3D 64 or PS1 game, like a level you would walk into in one of those games.
I have nothing left to steal from him but his glasses.
I wonder what would happen if I put them on. Oh, everything looks like I'm looking out of a Virtual Boy. But Scott's not. Gene? That's how you audition to play Wolverine. You just say Gene 56 different times in different ways. If you have enough different ways of emoting when you say Gene, you can get the job. It doesn't matter how tall you are. It doesn't matter how ripped you are. That's how you get that job.
A cocoon of telekinetic energy.
Even if we don't, that's great. Even if we don't think it's possible to make your hair look like Wolverine's hair, because that was a thing, if you can say Gene 56 ways, you get the job.
She's a class 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, that's the problem, is that we're suddenly all speaking in this terminology. It could be new technology, or terminology,
or it could have been something that subculture of, like, mutant, I mean, they're not the Morlocks, but they're kind of the Morlocks, like, that could be their thing.
Yeah, but Professor X shouldn't be talking about that.
No.
It's the most powerful I've ever seen. It's a class 5.
Why did it come to call
Wolverine
itself
should be
that?
Like, what are you talking about? Yeah.
Why didn't it call itself Real Gene?
I might just be saying this because I love Patrick Stewart and I've watched him in lots of things, but I feel like I might be able to sometimes pick up on when he knows a line is stupid. Like, Patrick Stewart has a tendency to elevate really dumb dialogue, and especially exposition that makes no sense. But boy, sometimes I feel like I might be seeing a flash in his eye or a little bit of a twitch where he's saying what we're saying, where he's like, it came to call itself the Phoenix, and in the back of Patrick Stewart's mind, he's going, I don't know why, that's really dumb, but that's what I'm supposed to be saying. I mean, you didn't rise from the ashes. And
that would be an interesting idea for a whole movie to explore now, wouldn't it?
It sure would, yeah. And that's part of the problem with taking Professor X off the table and killing him the way we do is
we never get to deal with that.
Yeah, and the X-Men on the whole don't really have to deal with his moral ambiguity. You know, there needs to be some discussion about that. This is our Rock. This is our altruistic guy that refuses to change. He's all hope for the future. I mean, I always liked the idea of Patrick Stewart playing both Picard and Professor X because they're about a lot of the same things. Professor X is trying to create the Star Trek utopia for mutants. And so when we find out he's human, you know, and makes mistakes like the rest of us, and maybe is is sometimes taken in by his own power and takes advantage of it, like some of us would be apt to do, accidentally or otherwise. You want to explore that.
This is such a...
And one way to get some time to develop some of that stuff would be to get rid of this subplot.
Yep. I don't know why it's here. Like, I know he's one of the original X-Men, but it's not like... It's not like at the end of this movie, it's like Iceman, Jean, him, Hank, and Scott come together. Like, okay...
Which could have been kind of cool.
Yeah. I mean, if that's what the movie was.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know why it's important that he needs to be in this movie. He's no one's favorite X-Men. That's not true. I'm sure some people like him, but...
Yeah, I mean, I would have said that about Iceman at one time.
People really like Iceman.
Yeah, that's a thing I know now. I thought it was a counterintuitive choice when I saw the first movie, because most of my X-Men knowledge was the 90s show, and he's, I don't think, in that at all.
Well, but Iceman gets a boom in popularity because Spider-Man's Amazing Friends.
Well, yeah, I know. But that was well before that.
Yeah.
And
but I think that's where a whole generation of people come to love Iceman, is from growing up with that show.
I don't know about that. I don't know how popular that show really was.
I always got the impression it was really popular.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that was the impression I got.
I mean, it's not like...
It's the impression that I get.
It's not that people love Firestar. Like,
she's cool.
She finally becomes a comic book character, but...
And that miniseries is pretty good.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I said finally. It's, like, right around there, I think.
Yeah, yeah, and that miniseries is actually quite
87?
good.
Somewhere in there. You've read that?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. I've sold it on eBay.
I had the issues. A lot of my early comic reading is from 2 collections that get given to me, and I read the issues. I like it quite... Or I'd read since I was like 13, but I remember liking it quite a bit.
He just flew over the park with the chessboards. That book ends, sort of.
Sure.
Well, yeah, because at the end of the movie, we see him flying around, and it's Magneto at one of the chessboards.
Oh, right. Okay. I thought you meant bookends from playing chess in the previous films. I'm like, I don't know if I'd call that a bookend.
No, that's not what I mean.
I get what you're saying now. Okay.
I mean, we do end a couple of these movies with...
We got a guy with a stupid helmet.
Look, this dorky-looking helmet.
Dorky-looking helmet. We got a guy with a dorky-looking helmet. Dead. Dead.
0 casualties. No, Magneto doesn't care.
Yeah. How do you make that guy hit his head? Or is it just the... throwing it all around? This is cool. I like kind of the reckless abandon of it.
Yeah. And it's real theatrical, like he has been through these movies. He could have done all that at once, but he's going to do it one at a time because it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
That would be cooler if we hadn't seen her do that before.
Yeah.
I feel like we've seen her do that move.
Yeah, we have. That's her go-to move.
Her signature move is breaking people's necks with her feet.
But we haven't gotten to see it in this movie yet.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
You know, it's interesting how...
She has already had more lines of dialogue than she did the other 2 movies combined, Eric.
It's true.
And that's because we're going to get rid of her.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Anyway, I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
It's interesting how the production of this movie kind of mirrors what happens to the X-Men in the 90s. There's Jerry Madrox.
Yeah.
He's my favorite mutant character.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you told me that you like him a lot.
Yeah. It's from X Factor.
And of course he gets nothing at all in this, but...
Got nothing to do with that character. Although he kind of looks like him, which is weird. At least the way he's drawn in Modern Day X Factor, but more Modern Day X Factor. So, Bryan Singer leaves this movie. He casts...
no, I want him to say, look, you're a god among insects, and don't let anybody tell you different. Sorry, go ahead.
He casts Beast. Then Matthew Vaughn is brought in to make this movie. He cast Vinnie Jones as him, and then they're like, "Okay, you have to make this movie in 6 months." He's like, "That's not enough time to make a movie," and he leaves. When Chris Claremont leaves the X-Men in the 90s...
A similar thing just happened with Brian Fuller in Star Trek.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
When Chris Claremont leaves the X-Men in the 90s, the way that we get struggling comedian Scott Lobdell to write the X-Men is... They ask someone, they're like, "Hey, can you write the next issue of X-Men?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure. Why? When does it due?" And they're like, "Monday." And they're like, "You can't write a comic book by Monday." And then they ask someone else and they have the exact same reaction, and a struggling comedian Scott Lobdell walks by and they're like, "Hey, Scott Lobdell, can you write X-Men? When does it due? Monday? Got it." And that's kind of the role Brett Ratner serves here. Brett Ratner and Scott Lobdell are really similar.
Now, I said before that it makes sense that Magneto would immediately abandon her because you've got to be a mutant, and it doesn't matter what we've been through together. If you're not one of us, you're one of them. But I'm conflicted about it too because I feel like
that she's wishing she was wearing clothes now.
I feel like that looks like a real cold steel floor. But I feel like there would be a difference between, in his mind, like natural mutation and artificially taking it away. So like he might feel like he has to abandon her right now, but wouldn't it be A, in his best interest, and B, I feel like he would be compassionate enough toward her because of what they went through together and stuff that if there was a way to cure you back to mutant, he would immediately try to go find her and do that. What do you think?
I think his immediate reaction should be like grave offense, and she should become a martyr for the cause. Look, they are weaponizing this cure. Just immediately, that's what I would do with her if I was Magneto. I would have her go before people and be like, I was a mutant and they shot me and now I'm not.
Yeah, and it's almost worse than death. You took away my
I do not buy that he would just leave her. Because
it's a thing I sometimes like as an idea when I think about it, but then I see it in execution and I do not know about it. And then he's going to be out of character the way he handles Professor X too.
I'm fine if she chose to turn that and he has nothing to say to her. It's because humans did it to her that I don't think he would do that.
And also, he says, "You saved me." It's a sacrificial thing.
Yeah. I don't think he treated her like that. And she's important in those first two movies. I don't know why you'd write her off immediately. Like, what leads you to that decision?
Yeah. Again, just real counterintuitive. We're doing that with so many characters at the beginning of this, as if we just have too much we want to accomplish.
Every decision in this movie is kind of the wrong decision.
Yeah. I guess one thing, I don't want to say give him slack, but one place that you have to kind of be, I think, maybe a little bit sympathetic toward Brett Ratner is that it was a project where there were decisions made before him, as you were talking about, that he doesn't have full creative control over this project. But what I would have done is probably kind of try to make it the way the previous director would have to some degree.
Especially if you're Brett Ratner and you know you don't have a stamp to put on anything.
Yeah.
You're the most competent, director. You're not a terrible director, but you're not an artistic...
You're a short order guy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But doesn't it feel a little bit like he's trying to put a stamp on it?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how many of the story choices were his.
Well, and he talks...
As far as, forcing the cure thing in there, and maybe that was a Singer idea, I'm not sure.
As I recall...
It's been too long since I've looked at behind-the-scenes stuff with this.
As I recall from listening to the commentary years ago, his big thing was anything that they were going to do in the movie, he had to be shown, a comic page where it happened. He doesn't seem to care about context. He's just, if it existed in the comics, we can put it in this movie.
It doesn't matter if it's cohesive and fits together.
Yeah. It's just this came from the comics, people like it.
It just becomes about representation of source material. Mm-hmm. And you know how much I hate that.
And from someone who clearly doesn't know source material, he's just okay, show me the page where this happens. All right, we'll put that in the movie.
And it visually occurring versus meaning the same thing and being about anything are real different, of course. I wonder if he's aware that Juggernaut's not a mutant.
He's not.
I mean,
I'm sure he's
not.
You
can make a Juggernaut that's a mutant, I guess. That's not a big deal.
They did that in Ultimate X-Men.
I don't care, but I just wonder if he knows, is all I'm saying. Show where this happens. Oh, well, see, here's Juggernaut. Okay, cool. That's the Juggernaut.
And I mean, if you were going to put Juggernaut in, you would just make him a mutant. That's the easy way to use that character.
Yeah, sure.
His helmet's dumb, though.
Sure, because it gets a little convoluted, right? To try to put that stuff in these movies.
Yeah, I'd like
to try to go back into that
background. An ancient
background.
Stone that gives you powers. Yeah, that's not...
That's the kind of stuff you do when you have a Marvel universe on the whole that we already know has supernatural elements and has mysticism and
Yeah, we're not sure if the Phoenix as a cosmic entity is too big or not for this movie.
Yeah.
We're not going to go to ancient stones that make people big and giant.
Get all Indiana Jones with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That was a somewhat amusing line delivery.
What? Did he just read the script?
There's stuff about this being another personality or part of her psyche that manifests itself as its own, entity that could have been interesting to explore. Of course, it's not there because it's an interesting idea. It's there because we tried to come up with something that's not
we needed
space
a more
alien.
realistic way to do it.
Yeah, but one of the things that might have been interesting to explore with it would have been to suggest that maybe one of the reasons Wolverine is attracted to her is because he can kind of inherently read damaged.
Or that she's got like this inherent, more like animalistic side, like he
Exactly.
has.
Yeah.
That's what he was attracted to the whole time.
Yeah, because this would be the place to finally tell us what in the world it is that gives them that magnetic attraction they seem to have.
What's class 5?
Because I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Okay, I want Magneto's line right there to be like, "What's a class 5?"
This is a thing that's in the comics where like we have omega level mutants. I don't know any other levels. I don't think they exist. It's just
that's hilarious.
If you're really powerful, you're an omega level mutant, and that's all there is to it.
That's like if
Iceman is an omega level mutant.
It's like if you had tornadoes and F5 tornadoes. That's what you have. I told you when I was a kid I made up a superhero called Tornado Man.
Yes.
His arch nemesis was F10. He is a big, scary tornado.
His nemesis should have been Dorothy.
No Twister talk. Okay.
I kind of want Chris Claremont to be like watering his lawn still.
Stan Lee haven't aged at all. Or we go back to Stan Lee, and in the first scene, he also had de-aged makeup. And then when we get here, he's just Stan Lee. That would have been great. Okay, can I make an amusing complaint about the helmets?
Yep.
I don't like that the opening bit of Magneto's helmet is shaped about the same as we're not seeing it right now, but as
Juggernauts.
As Juggernauts?
I like that his looks like it's big foam plastic.
Yeah, no, I know, but there are different ways to have an opening in a helmet, and they're both shaped exactly the same.
They both have the T.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even like the specific shape of the T, like the etch here, it's there on both.
Well, and it's weird.
That's weird.
And it's weird because of all of the characters, Juggernaut has the most of a just like comic book costume. And once again, we're making a choice where we're putting less clothes on a character that had more clothes in the comic. Like he's got this He-Man thing.
Does
like
that
it's
count
just
as a
covering the
bare-chested
top.
villain? Is he slightly
It's a
bare-chested?
mid-drifted villain.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
maybe. It's a bare-stomached villain.
There's really no reason, of course, to have Juggernaut in this movie except you want some more henchman characters and you want a Brotherhood.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind that he's a mutant. Maybe let's not do Juggernaut if we're not even going to mention that he's Professor X's brother. Again, I don't need things to be just like they're in the comics, but we don't do anything with him at all. Like, I don't mind that Havoc is no longer Cyclops' younger brother. I don't care. I like their Havoc. I don't care. Mm-hmm. But other people care about that. It's not a big deal to me. But Juggernaut is just a big brutish, a henchman guy.
Yeah, which I don't mind. I think he's a fine villain to pick, or a fine character to pick as a henchman.
Okay.
I mean, I don't feel like I've ever.
But it's just we keep doing that. We've done that with so many of these. That's all.
But I feel like, I know there's nothing. What is an interesting Juggernaut story to tell in the film?
Yeah, that's true. But it does feel weird if you know your X-Men, because I'm trying not to sound too fanboyish. My complaint is not, he's not Professor X's brother. It's that it's weird to introduce him in the movie where you kill off Professor Xavier. And that he's there in the scene. It's distracting if you know your X-Men.
So, I'm 14 when this...
Tornado spin!
I'm 14 when this movie comes out.
I want Storm to cry out all of her attacks. Sorry.
I'm 14 when this movie comes out. I think Fantastic Four is an alright movie. I thought that was the dumbest thing ever. The spin just...
It looks like a fighting game move.
Yeah.
It looks like what she would do in Marvel vs. Capcom, and I think Storm is in one of those. Maybe it's 3 that they finally put...
So that's a line that my friends and I say to each other.
She let me in!
Because we like to imagine Jean, like, on, like, Christmas, and Professor X, like, outside on the... on the window.
Gene,
and, like,
it's cold outside!
And, like, it's raining, and it's just, Gene, let me in!
And then Gene's just standing there smiling at him sadistically, holding a cup of hot chocolate.
Yeah.
Ow.
And it's also something I say from time to time.
Hey, Storm, why are you using your powers right now? Is it because you're concentrating too much on what's going on outside?
Yeah.
No one should be able to come up to Storm and throw her up against the wall, right? Yeah. Can't you just wind them away? I like his look there.
The Room could have.
So, like I've said before, I don't like taking Professor X out this early and this way and not getting to explore his moral ambiguity, but this is absolutely chilling. Yeah, and he's my favorite character, so like it was like a gut-wrenching moment in the theater for me. And I didn't like that they did it. But the creepy look he gives just before he gets fully disintegrated is kind of great.
The moment when he's throwing his mind.
It's kind of great. Oh, that's a good point. That must be what's going on right there. Yeah. Some of this doesn't look great, but
the house looks real bad.
His
whenever
disintegrating,
we back out to it.
I really like, actually.
Except,
and you could say this is him like paying for this thing he did that he shouldn't have done. I mean, I like that. I guess I kind of like that it's the entity that he buried that does it. But we needed to talk about it more before we got there. Honestly, this could have been your third act, dude.
Yeah. And taking it back to her house makes sense thematically. Like, it's...
I love that.
It's kind of like...
I still love that.
It's kind of like they knew what they were supposed to do. Like writing-wise, this is how you do this. We just didn't know how
where it should go.
Yeah.
And it's because they wanted to go too big at the end. And I guarantee you, well, I don't want to say guarantee you, but if you didn't have the whole Cure plot, that's your third act.
Yep.
That's how you ended this movie.
Yep.
And then I could have I could have been made to love that choice.
Mm-hmm.
That Professor X dies
for his great mistake.
Yeah.
It was a great sin.
Yeah, and that it's part of like a redemptive sacrifice where it happens. Like,
I'm trying to act real hard to you, Jack, but I'm really trying to be on your level, but it's just not working.
Here it's done really just to show how powerful she is.
Yeah.
That's really Professor X, with all of his mental power, can't stop that from happening. Because, I mean, if somehow or other you're watching this and you don't know anything about... That's a really good shot of that house. And you don't know anything about their powers, somehow or other, it looks like just an old man getting ripped apart by a really powerful entity, but he's the other most powerful thing in that room.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to control her mind, I'm sure.
Funeral. We're counting funerals, right?
And, yes.
And so we will get to for this movie.
You know what they should have put up?
One for Cyclops, because he died too?
You know, a piece of merchandise they could have put out that would have been really cool is that Professor X had on a coin.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
They should have done that.
But yeah, Scott died too, guys. Are we just not gonna talk about that? Okay.
They're gonna show his... Well, they don't know that, for sure.
Yeah. But I feel like at this
point... You wouldn't
have
a memorial yet, necessarily. He's just missing, but nobody's talking about the fact that he's missing. So that's kind of... Where are they? I forget.
But when you see Professor X disintegrated like that...
You have to assume
and then you went to Alki Lake and picked up his sunglasses... We're just gonna assume
it's not a leap to think maybe that's what happened to him also. Yeah,
not really sure why, because he didn't do that to Jean, and Magneto gets off scot-free as well.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody will ever be able to explain to us why the Phoenix even bothers with Magneto.
I have no idea.
It's not a thing I understand.
So, she hasn't aged a day.
And I never liked this scene following that, the really somber funeral bed.
She looks exactly the same in Inception.
Yeah.
Like...
Well, Inception's... Yeah, it's 4 or 5 years after this.
Yeah.
She looks almost exactly the same in Days of Future Past.
Yeah.
She's put on, like, no years.
She was cast. They were supposed to do a movie of Greg Rucka's Queen Country, and she was cast as lead character. I'm like, I can't. she looks 16, and that character's supposed to be like at least 28. I understand that she is an adult.
She looks now like she's maybe old enough to drink, but not by much.
She still gets carded.
I like her a lot. I think she's a good actress.
I agree. She's one of those actresses that's cursed with like. Oh, you still look like a kid, so even though I know you're an adult, it is hard for me to take you seriously in adult roles.
Yeah, but there's something inherently honest about her.
Yeah,
she's got that. Yeah. She's got that kind of affect. But yeah, I didn't need love triangle stuff right after you killed off Professor X.
And this needs to be way more.
They're trying to make to keep the mood sad and somber with all that. It's not like we immediately start, joking constantly and stuff, but I don't care about this plot.
What did that do? Putting ice on the blade? Like, it's not like he created the blade.
I thought the idea was he did create the blade.
Well, we just saw a shot of it. It was just like a blade with ice on it.
I know, and I've talked about that before. It's just a bad practical effect. They didn't get the whole blade.
Oh.
No, we see him, if memory serves, I mean, we were talking, he creates the blade, and then they just make the mistake of giving a close-up on what she's actually wearing.
How can she even tell who's out there?
Do you think Rogue has been coloring in more of her hair to be white? Because she looks like she's got extensions.
But it looks so good.
There's too much of it now. It looked way better next to.
I like it in both. But this needed to be... She's important to those first two movies. She's written off here. This needed to be her pushing Bobby away. Like, it seems like Bobby's just being a jerk.
And of course she feels regressed because she's come to some degree appreciate her powers.
Yeah.
And she needs to at least be more conflicted about it. I could be made to be okay with Rogue at the end deciding that when push comes to shove, I really just want to be able to have a normal life.
Mm.
And they try to play her as feeling kind of ashamed about it, but some of it is just they're not able to give her enough screen time that we should do this story. These are two separate movies. It's really hard not to just immediately go back to the point you made at the beginning, which is either of these stories could have been a lot better than they are.
Because we don't have time to explore the implications of a cure.
Yep, and we don't have the time to really explore the implications of the choice Professor X made that creates the Phoenix in the first place. I mean, yes, it's a misstep to make that be what the Phoenix is. Still could have been a way better movie.
Yeah,
there's still plenty of potential there, even if it doesn't track with that last movie.
It's such a
that's the kind of frustration I like that kind of frustration better, where I'm like, this is a great movie. It does not make sense with that last movie, but right?
Yeah.
At least give me a piece that works.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't work with what came before.
Yeah, exactly. And this is neither.
It's not, yeah.
But, like, if you're going to do a cure, the interesting thing about the idea of a cure is how it reflects on the X-Men and the choices they want to make with it. Here, it's just a big looming threat. This is not about, do any of us want to not be mutants? Except for Rogue, and she just leaves. Like, we don't actually deal with that.
You're a god among insects that are like me.
Also, it was a mistake to do... The effect for Dark Phoenix is the exact same effect as having your powers drained from by Rogue.
Oh, yeah. It's real similar, at least, yeah.
Which might be why we wrote her out of this movie. I don't think that's why we wrote her out of this movie.
Yeah, so... It's just... It's a really strange choice. Once again, we keep saying counterintuitive. It's a really strange choice to basically say the real Jean Grey is just a really scary person.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even that this is... You know, I talked earlier about, you know, if the Phoenix... If the idea was the Phoenix is supposed to be this, other dark personality, the way they play it is that's the real Jean Grey.
Mm-hmm.
And the Jean Grey that we're familiar with is this docile version that gets created by Professor X burying it. I don't know about that.
And it still doesn't track back to Liberty Island.
Nope, not at all.
And you'd think, if he was going to do the Liberty Island thing, why wouldn't he kidnap Jean? He knows she's got all this power. I mean, I know they didn't know that when they made that movie, but... He knows that she's the Phoenix. She would be able to power that machine easily.
Yeah, but didn't he specifically need Rogue's power?
Well, it's because his power was the only one that would, operate it, and
right.
so he had Rogue get his power, but he just...
Telekinetic could have done that, yeah.
Hey guys, I'm in this movie too.
I don't know, I always get frustrated about this because we don't get enough time with the Phoenix entity for me to really make a judgment call about about whether or not it is inherently a horrible idea to make the real Jean Grey because the idea of you're knowing that you're super powerful and that makes you think about human beings differently and you put yourself above them and you just need guidance is not a bad idea. Of course, that means that she developed all that power that early. But I guess they say that. That's supposed to be the whole idea. And so that means that everything we thought we knew about her is just a lie, right?
Yeah.
Perpetuated by Professor X. But again, it's not played next to, it's a
There's
dark
Karen
thing.
TV.
Yeah, I was like that bit. And I always think it's an X2 for some reason.
Yeah, we don't.
I'm sorry. I always spin my wheels when I watch this movie.
We don't need any of this teen drama crap in this movie. It's just wasting time. I mean, and so much of this movie is just wasting time because
it's trying to move forward from X2 because we had that stuff in that movie.
Yeah,
it thinks that it's progressing those things.
Well, but it's at odds because this wants to be an ending to a trilogy, right? This is supposed to be the...
It's also trying to be quite a bit more epic than those films were.
Because it's the culmination of the previous two films. We're bringing everything together. But we're also introducing 75 new characters and moving out characters from those previous two films. That's not what you do here. If this is supposed to be kind of an ending and, this is the war, right? This is what we've been talking about for two movies. You want it to be with the characters you spent two movies with.
And it doesn't mean that you can't still potentially move on from that. But you have an ending... which is, there's a cure, and then it doesn't seem like it's working. So, whether you like that or not, that automatically gives you sequel bait. And you're not really establishing anything that people are latching onto.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Well, it's because everything feels like it's wasting time. The Cure is wasting time that you could be spending on the Phoenix. The Phoenix is wasting time that you could be spending on the Cure. The teen melodrama is wasting time that you could be spending on the other characters. The other characters are wasting time that you could be spending on pre-established characters that we already have a relationship with.
Well, it's almost like the Cure, we feel like that has to be there because we need political stuff, because we need to continue talking about the social ramifications, but you can still do that with the Phoenix because you're dealing with... I mean, honestly, this probably should have been just the Phoenix.
Yeah.
You can do the Cure later.
Or just the
movie.
Cure and...
Save her.
Yeah.
For a later movie. Of course, that makes that ending kind of funny because that just means that Professor X knows she's out there somewhere, and it'll be 5 or 6 years and she'll show up.
Well, you could see that through through this film, and like have like a thing at the end where it's like no, there's this thing that we have to deal with, or something like something like that.
Where we see her like fully manifested.
Yeah,
we saw a ripple in the water at the end of that last movie.
Yeah,
but I feel like you have that idea
that's how you end this. Is you have like a tentative piece, like you have the whole cure discussion at the end of 3. You have like a tentative piece, and then the Phoenix shows up, and it's a more powerful mutant than we've ever seen. That's something.
You do a more understated political thriller with the cure. Yeah,
and then you end it, I guess, on like a cliffhanger kind of a thing. Anyway, sorry, you were saying.
No, you're fine. So I really like the speech. Your streets will not be safe. You will not be safe. Is that what I say? Anyway, but there was that idea that I was talking about with the last movie, when Wolverine is in Bobby's house and he's arguing with the parents, and he says, "What mutant problem?" Mm-hmm. The Phoenix is the mutant problem. Mm-hmm. It's the one you can't control. It's the one where if you take it to Professor X's school for gifted mutants, he's not going to be able to do anything to make the world safer.
And that idea is inherently political. You would have to deal with that.
Exactly.
On a global scale, you would have to deal with that. Mm-hmm. Which is what...
And then the idea is just, it's not black and white. Like, you have these impossible choices you have to make.
Well, and that's the idea.
And that's where Professor X's ethical ambiguity could be explored. Where he knows that, and he has to play it like it's black and white and more exaggerated so that the world will pay attention. But anyway, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, and that's the idea we talked about this with X2, that one of the writers of X2 had talked about his plan for 3 was that Phoenix would be a global, like, it would be a big deal, and like there would be people that worship the Phoenix, and it would be an almost messianic idea.
Yeah.
That's
And again,
something.
That's a thing that Apocalypse kind of sort of wanted to do.
Yeah. I don't know if the idea of plastic guns is silly or clever.
I don't know that it's clever. It seems like the obvious way to go, right? When you have...
But can you fire... Like, think of all of the mechanical mechanisms that have to go on the gun to fire.
You said mechanical mechanisms.
Yeah, you know what I mean. but think of all the mechanisms that have to
go on. You have a plastic pin, and yeah.
I don't know if it actually works. I mean, it must work somewhat because we have plastic guns. Nerf guns and stuff, things like that. But you're not killing people with those.
I mean, that seemed like the next obvious step, given that you put Magneto in a plastic prison.
Yeah, but that's solid. It's not moving. I'm
just saying you would want weapons that you could fight him with. I always thought it was kind of like let's just assume for a moment that such a thing is possible, and let's say it's a comic book movie. We'll just give them that.
Yeah.
You're dumb if you go up against Magneto and you don't try to develop such a thing.
Yeah. I'm sure that guy's a comic book character. He's somebody's favorite X-Men villain.
The guy that pulls things off himself and throws them?
Yeah, that has like blades that come out. And he's a 90s creation.
They're not even blades. They look like...
They're like corkscrew.
They're almost like railroad ties or something.
Yeah.
They're...
Yeah. Yeah, he was created in the 90s as like, this is the new Wolverine.
Probably so.
He's like Wolverine, but he can throw his blades.
I'm not just saying this because we recently watched and talked over this movie. In the theater, I remember thinking that some of these guys in this forest, kind of Electro movie villains.
Well, and I think I mentioned this in the very first X-Men movie. I don't see this in theaters. I catch glimpses of this out of the back of my father's truck while we're at the drive-in watching something else. I see this on DVD, and so I already know the reputation it has.
I was so excited.
I was too.
I saw the midnight, and I left the theater just positively, like, disheveled.
Homo what's it?
What, sapiens? But yeah, I was devastated when I walked out of this.
It's so bad. Like, and not in the obviously bad kind of a way. It's a subtler bad. Wait, why Alcatraz Island? What? Is that where we're developing the cure? I don't think we established that before this.
Well, and one of the things, of course, that makes it really disappointing is it's not like, we had 2 really good X-Men movies.
Yeah, it's a bare-chested villain. That counts.
And then the rest is gravy.
Mm-hmm.
It's that you ended X2 in a really interesting place, and you wanted to see where it went from there.
Mm-hmm.
We were making a good case for serialized X-Men stories on film.
Well, and it's funny because you can tell how dumb and naive I was as a child, because I walked out of X2 seeing the Phoenix and going, how are they possibly going to do Hellfire Club?
Oh, you didn't even know it was the Phoenix?
Well, no. If
yes.
Hellfire Club's all involved in the Dark Phoenix saga, and I'm just assuming, well, we're just going to do that story exactly. It's going to be...
I always forget that for some reason.
It's the 90s X-Men cartoon, like...
I think it's because I didn't know about Hellfire Club until later.
Although, in the 90s X-Men cartoon, they're the Circle Club, because you get to Hellfire in the 90s cartoon.
They didn't have... They didn't call them that there?
No, they call them Circle Club.
I forgot about that.
Which is just as menacing.
I remember that they were there. So this is a big Wolverine motif in this movie. Is we gotta...
Yeah.
I think starting here, we gotta constantly throw him as far as we can throw him. Or did we do it...
We do it in one.
Do we do it in one?
Yeah, because Magneto grabs him on the train and throws him.
Yeah, but he doesn't go that far. Doesn't he just throw him on the train?
Well, he throws him to the back of the train.
To the back of the train,
Well, that's the beginning. And that's to escalate from there.
Yeah. I just always think of it as...
I don't think he gets thrown
going
over
acres.
I hate that line.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
That and explaining anything as women's intuition. Like, just, if that's in your script, just cut it.
As an explanation?
Yeah. Those are not explanations. And I also don't believe that Mystique would turn on him like that. Like, I don't care how angry she is at Magneto as a person, she won't turn against the cause like that.
With the exception of the Savage Land, I don't feel like X-Men tends to wind up in the woods as often as it does in these movies.
Yeah, you're probably right.
We're always in the woods.
Well, or when we go to Canada.
To really irk me. Yeah, but they look like Canadian woods. It's not just... Anyway. It feels different than just like the woods in your backyard. I mean, Canadian woods would be the woods in somebody from Canada's backyard. And of course, we shoot everything in Vancouver. Anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about right now, so I'm going to leave that point behind me. But in the mid-2000s, I started getting really sick of every superhero movie having to spend half the frickin' film in the woods. I got really tired of that. Maybe some people really get excited about the setting. I am not one of them. And it's always military in the woods. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Okay, it wasn't an X2, but it tends to be...
So there's an amusing story about this scene.
Yeah, go ahead.
When Peter David saw this, in theaters, he stands up and he goes, "Oh, of course it's my guy!"
That's great.
Have we seen a lot of woods in Marvel Mania?
Not yet, but we did with Elektra.
We did with Elektra.
We are here, and there's a little bit next too, but it's not obnoxious.
Yeah.
And then the big culprit is Rise of Silver Surfer. That's the big culprit of it.
I forgot about that.
So you guys weren't trying to make box art at all.
Yeah, this is a movie like. Big cosmic entity, of like Lovecraftian scales. That's too silly. Man with like anti-coat. That's yeah. What is that costume? Like that doesn't even begin to fit in this world.
So if you had to do the Cure plot and try to integrate the Phoenix, you just hire Joss Whedon to write your script, right?
Yeah.
If you're gonna do
exactly
his
what
book
you do
anyway, just hire him to write your script.
Not that the Phoenix is in Astonishing, but
no, I know that. But
he writes good female characters.
They're gonna do the bridge moving and everything.
Yep.
Like, if you have to force it in there, let the guy who did the story you seem to really want to tell force it in there. That might seem less forced.
This is 06, right?
Yeah, he's working on Wonder Woman, I think.
I don't think Astonishing's done yet. It's still coming
finished?
out.
Wow.
That's a long delayed book.
I'm trying to remember when the Wonder Woman script was written and then rejected. Was it as late as like 2009, 2010?
I think it might be.
Or was it a little bit earlier than that?
I want to say it's later. Because when this movie comes out, I'm not paying attention to that kind of stuff like I am when that information comes out.
I wasn't either.
Now, there is apparently a Joss Whedon Batman script I really want to read.
Ooh.
Yeah,
I know that.
Oh, yeah, he does a draft before it begins.
I would be fascinated to read his Wonder Woman script.
Me
I would
too.
love to know why Warner's rejected it.
Well,
and they didn't like that it was a period piece.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
That's what they've made now.
Yeah. But apparently his Batman script is it's begins. Like, it's the reboot of the Batman franchise. It's an origin story, and he creates a villain that is Bruce's psychologist as a child.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know, that would be a real bold move for a Batman movie to make up a villain.
Yeah.
Because he's got such a giant rogues gallery, people would be real quick to be like, you got all the source material. You and I argue about this all the time, and I'm like, nah, try something new. Like, if it's... I mean, the reason it's risky is because if it sucks, you go, well, look at all the source material.
Well, and so often when we create new characters, it's really like Mary Sue, where it's like, oh, he's the worst villain we've ever had. He's
just
so crazy and so evil.
Yeah, if we make something new, it's got to be the be-all, end-all.
Yeah.
Let's pretend like Beast has been in this movie more than he has.
Let's pretend like all of these characters have been in this movie more than they have, except for Wolverine and Storm.
Like, we're zooming in on his face like I'm real invested in that particular character right now.
So, this is a thing...
I want to be! This is so silly.
I'm interested to see how I feel about this, because this is a thing that I had an issue with back in the day. This feels too big for this Magneto. Powers-wise, scale-wise, to me, I'm not really sure.
Keep in mind that this is also a movie where Wolverine can be ripped apart and put himself back together while that's happening.
That's true.
So you have that problem already.
But, I don't know, this always felt really big for Magneto in this universe. So
you don't think he should be able to do this much with metal?
I don't know, because this is a thought I have when I first see this movie. And it's just one I've always had, so like I haven't like really re-examined that thought.
Yeah,
but
sure.
This has always felt too large scale for me for what we see him do with his powers.
That's potentially a fair criticism. I guess I'm just not sure because we have again
his movie is so much
with
bigger.
Wolverine especially. We keep escalating that every movie it's a little bigger to the point of not even a little. We just went from X2 to this and it's nuts. I don't know that he's any more powerful in X2 than he was in X1.
Wolverine?
Yeah,
I don't think so. Well, and this is also...
I was thinking of it as a gradual thing, but it's not gradual.
This is also... We're well into the unkillable god Wolverine of the comics.
Right. I mean, at least McKellen is playing it like it's hard.
Mm-hmm. Why is that shot there?
That shot does not need to be there. It's not like we cut back to that guy.
Well, and you know what's weird? Theoretically, this isn't any larger scale than the baseball stadium in Days of Future Past, but that one doesn't bother me at all.
Huh.
So maybe it's just... I don't know, this feels really big for...
Well, maybe it felt that way to you at the time, going from X2 to this, and you're just used to that being a complaint of yours.
Yeah. Like, at this point, it's not big, given everything we've done with the X-Men movies, I guess, at this point.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I
you
remember...
mean today, right now.
Yeah. But I remember when I first saw this, I was like, that's too grand scale for this Magneto. Oh, I was in this movie in one scene! And he's somebody, like, I feel like I've seen him in other stuff. Around this time, like, he's like a child actor, I feel like I know, yeah. Certainly is a big orange bridge. Right, but, you could have taken a plane.
Yeah, I guess he wants to make sure that every mutant that wants to join him can come over right now. I mean, at least he says that. You know, at least on the news, he's like,
Just have to work
come
through all
join
those
us.
cars.
And I also like that he doesn't say, like, if you're a mutant that's not with us, you're against us. He says, get out of our way. I kind of like that. Like, even if mutants don't agree with him, he still sees them as the future.
Right.
He's waiting for them to get on board. And this is part of the reason this is the reason I don't like the Pawns Go First.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't think he would want to sacrifice mutants that flippantly. He would see it as something that would have to happen. It's war.
Mm-hmm.
But he says it so flippantly, and of course everybody always makes fun of them, and that's why the Pawns go for like.
I don't know if everybody does. I think it's just you and me.
No. I've heard lots of people.
Oh,
make fun of it, yeah.
Okay.
And that's a thing. Shades like to say, yeah. A lot of X-Men fans like to go to that. Also, this movie is too short.
Yeah, I can't believe we're already here.
Yeah.
How long is this movie?
It is an hour 42. You do not take the Cure plot and the Phoenix plot and put it in anything less than 2 hours, I wouldn't think.
Yeah, the Phoenix has barely been in this movie.
And how much of this has felt padded? Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Okay, you don't need to say plastic. Like, we all know that it's plastic. Oh, no, it's plastic! I don't know. I don't like that.
Yeah.
Have we talked...
He should view all mutants equally.
That's what I would think.
Well,
again, it's a war.
But see, he's been negatively influenced by the youth culture and all of this talk of levels. He's a level 5. The level 1s are going first.
He's not a level 5.
Like that.
Only the Phoenix is a level 5. There's nothing else that big.
Okay, so he's a level 4.
I don't know why we have that scale if we've never seen a level 5. I like, even the scale doesn't really make sense if you think about it.
Yeah.
Or unless she's at like the tippy top of level 5 and there are some other level 5s, but I don't remember if... I think we're told Professor X is like a 4, but maybe that's not even in there. I forget now. Have we talked over the cartoonishly comedic general guy who's like, put down your normal cartridges, pick up your Cure cartridges? That always cracked me up.
I don't think we've gotten to that yet.
Well, but we're in the battle now, so we must have. There's a montage, and we must have talked over it. I keep having this weird sinking suspicion, like somehow or other we've skipped over scenes, but we can't have.
Yeah. I cannot believe we're already at the end of the movie.
26 minutes left.
We haven't built anything.
It feels like we're still...
First act.
Yeah, it feels like we're still getting off the ground.
Yeah.
And that's part of
why...
they
just flew in.
That's part of why I rejected the early deaths the way I did.
Mm-hmm.
Because well past them, we still feel like we're developing the impetus for the story.
Yeah, see, she's back to the black leather. That costume she was wearing earlier looks way better.
It's better.
He looks great, though.
Yeah. I even like the jacket.
Why did we bring Colossus? He wasn't in this movie.
Colossus is very helpful. You always want Colossus.
Well, yeah, but he wasn't in this movie. This is unnecessary. Look how cool I am! Everybody, did you know I was cool?
And I guess Wolverine's character arc is supposed to be he figured out how to be a team player. I guess he's supposed to be a Power Ranger leader. Like, he figured out how to be a team player. Even though he's still going to save the day single-handedly with the Phoenix.
Which, really, what you should be doing with the Phoenix and what she says about him and the fact that the attraction should be this kind of animalistic thing, he should be realizing, I have grown from that, and am I okay with that? Maybe I liked myself better the other way.
Yeah.
That should be his arc in this movie.
That's a really good point. I like that.
If we're doing that thing with the Phoenix where they recognize the animalisticness of each other.
Sometimes blocking in movies is really funny. It's as if we have had a rehearsal and we knew precisely how much space we were going to put apart from ourselves between each of us, even though we had no idea where we were going to be standing. If they broke out into song at that moment and had perfectly rehearsed choreography, I would not be surprised.
I don't like this. This, like, well, there's a tough chick on the good guy's side, so we have to have a tough chick on our side, and they have to fight each other.
That's a good point.
There is no contest here. Storm can just fire with lightning.
And why is she fighting hand-to-hand like that? Why does she keep doing that? Storm is just standing around waiting to get slapped in the face by something.
And Kitty Pryde has an X-Men costume, but there's pink stripes. That's her individuality, I guess.
Now, Juggernaut versus Kitty Pryde, that's a thing you want to see.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If they're both going to be in this movie, you should do that.
Wolverine has no idea what's going on in this moment. Where are you going?
I've never liked this kind of half measure with the superhero costumes. Where we go, okay, it's got to be black leather, but we're gonna put the color that you're used to from the comics in outline. I do not like that. If you're gonna do that, go all the way.
And Kitty Pryde's costume isn't pink.
Hers is pink. It's so silly.
And that's not her, like, costume. I mean, Kitty Pryde doesn't really have an iconic costume. She changes every 6 seconds. No, this
looks like a Power Ranger costume.
Yeah, it does.
And there's the line. There it is.
You know, and I hear people be like, you know, I thought the YouTube video was funny, but this is taking it too far. I don't think the YouTube video is funny.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, that line is there because there was somebody did a thing on YouTube where they just voiced over the X-Men cartoon. And they keep saying that. That's like all of the drag acts.
And that's why they put it in then?
Yeah.
So that
of all of the things,
is that maybe our first like meme that is so popular it becomes mainstream and makes it into a movie? And I would say that's going the other way. That's one of, if not the first big like comic book meme thing that comes from this movie again, where people that don't know that, it still winds up in memes.
But now Skylark looks.
But now you say YouTube video. This came out in 2006, which means it couldn't have been a YouTube video.
Well, I saw it
was
on
a video
YouTube.
somewhere.
It might have been on like Newgrounds or
It was
something.
probably uploaded there later.
Yeah, it might have been on like
This movie
Newgrounds
comes out
like.
the year YouTube begins.
Yeah. But yeah, no.
Not to quibble. I was just sitting here thinking about the dates, and I was like, well, wait, that doesn't add up.
But it was like this popular video on the internet, and this is what I hate. You have all of these amazingly talented fans that do all of this amazing stuff on the internet, and when
I really love this Churchill bit. Now, I wish there's a deleted scene where he does more of that earlier, and that's a payoff for it, and I wish that had been left in. Sorry, go ahead.
But we have all these amazingly talented people on the internet that do all this amazing stuff, like these fans that do videos and things like that.
That never influences anything.
But the stupid crap does.
Yeah.
And it's almost always like you know, there was that big thing about Joker blogs, and Joker blogs just disappeared. I don't think they ever even did their second season. Like, and it's not like that was like there's like a call out to that. Yeah,
there is a first episode of that second season, and I don't know if
that's
they
good.
need more of it, but
yeah, I'm
just saying I saw the first episode of the official first episode of the second season.
Which was all supposed to be out before Dark Knight Rises came out, because I got to see the script early and stuff like that.
Which ended up being pointless for them, unfortunately.
Yeah.
He was pitching a Gotham Hospital drama, which sounded really cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, actually. I was in this movie too!
Remember Birdwing Guy? Here he comes! Birdwing Guy!
Oh, and those wings look terrible.
Yeah. That would look better if there were no wings and he was just flying.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Why are we still fighting?
You know, you could have had Angel.
And this lighting looks bad.
You could have had Angel in First Class. Everybody mistakenly thinks that's Angel. It's just Birdwing Guy. Okay, you could have had.
So Apocalypse does make sense.
Yeah.
We are maintaining continuity.
Of course.
If that's Angel, this was Birdwing Guy.
Birdman Guy. Yeah, Birdwing Guy. And is no relation. It's just like Trask. They both have the same name. No relation at all. Although I don't think they ever call that guy Bolivar, so he's just another Trask of no relation. Trask sounds cool.
To be fair, there's like 15 Trasks in the comics. Like, we just keep going through Trasks.
Yeah, but they're probably all related, right?
Yeah. Oh, so you're saying a Trask no relation.
Well, there's a black guy Trask and a white guy Trask. I kind of doubt that they're related, is all I'm saying.
That's true.
Are you seeing the resemblance between that guy and Peter Dinklage? Because I'm not.
Maybe Peter Dinklage has really weak genes.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's been a couple generations, like,
at least one.
You know, maybe he had an African American wife.
Yeah, and he had really weak genes.
But that guy's really elderly. He would have been around at the time of Trask. We just don't see him.
He's already running around as a kid.
Yeah. I don't.
No, it all fits together. They spend a lot of time making sure that all of the films.
I don't think so.
Up. It makes sense.
Oh, Kelsey Grammer, you're so good. Oh, look, you finally figured out.
It's like the beginning when we were hiding behind a burning car and you weren't working as a team. It's like that, but now you're working as a team.
And like in less apocalyptic future.
You see, he learned his lesson. It's full circle. This is a really good script.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It all comes together.
I do like the throwing cars and just lighting them on fire.
That's great. These humans in the motive vehicles.
So, we had one scene between Pyro and Iceman before this, in this movie.
This movie. Yep.
This is building on X2, but it's not building on the material in this film.
Yeah. And at this point, you've all but forgotten about that.
Yeah.
Because Pyro hasn't gotten to do anything.
He's so good.
It's far too many characters. He's so good. And you can't complain about his performance here. He doesn't get to do anything.
Yeah. And yeah. I hate this fight. Okay. So, this is like a Dragon Ball Z beam fight. And that's fine. That's just like energy and strength. How does icing yourself make your ice icier? Because that's how he wins this beam fight.
Yeah.
See, look, he throws more fire. That makes sense.
Yeah.
He's winning, and then he just ices himself and wins. I don't understand.
I think the idea is supposed... I never minded that. I don't think it's he wins because he ices himself. I think it's that he gets so cold, it ices himself.
I don't know. He ices himself, and then... That's dumb. That's real dumb.
Really?
I don't like that. And that looks real bad.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look great. I don't mind it.
He's melting... He's got fire on him so hot that he can't even begin to, like, create ice.
Okay, that's fair.
And then he ices himself and just grabs his hands?
It's like, yeah, where it's like he morphs into Ice Ranger.
What it should have been,
something.
or what I think it's kind of supposed to be is...
It's just, I remember that being a cool, like... A cool moment in the theater where we finally get comic book full Iceman. Iceman. It's cool to finally get to see him like that.
Oh, the irony!
But yeah, I kind of forgot that he...
What it should be, and what I think it thinks it is
that he was almost fully taken out for, like his ice
I'm
put out.
better because my powers are ice. You just control fire, so he breaks the machines. But that's not really what you get from that scene. But I think that's what they think they're doing.
It should still maybe take a couple of seconds for him to be able to get that icy.
Yeah.
I guess he's just thinking a lot harder about it.
He's concentrating. He got 4 of them. And he's going to slightly move a piece at the end of this movie. This is not an effective cure.
That's a really good point, which means everybody else should already have their mutant powers back.
Angel has like tiny angel wings?
Yeah, and then
I mean, Birdwing guy has tiny birdwing.
Yeah, he's not Angel, he's Birdwing guy. But Magneto is like real slow in the uptake. He's been playing chess at the table for so long, he hasn't even noticed that all the mutants got their powers back. And then he's like, I'm moving a piece. And then the after credit scene of this movie should have been like, everybody else has their powers already. That would have been great. That would have saved this movie. It would have fixed everything.
Yep, totally.
Yep. Oh yeah, that's right. And the Phoenix is in this movie.
Yep.
Why does she just stand around?
I forgot how little she's in this movie.
Why does
this movie is so short, and I feel like I've watched nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't watched a Dark Phoenix movie, I haven't watched a Cure movie, I haven't watched a teen drama.
And this has been a real different watch for me than it was when Shades and I did it, because we had a tough time thinking of things to say. We were real depressed watching it. It felt like it took 3.5 hours. This has been like lickety-split.
Yeah.
Oh no, I made a giant mistake. If only Xavier was here to bail me out.
So what is motivating
like
her?
Always.
Why is she doing this?
Yep. I guess she was... I have no idea. I guess she was waiting around seeing if Magneto's plan would work, and then when it doesn't, she's like, and now I'll just destroy everything.
Look, shut up, stupid fanboy. She's wearing red. What more do you want? She's a Dark Phoenix. What do you want from us?
She's all fiery.
Like the Phoenix. Yeah, and that's the thing. You know, I didn't think about this. We don't even use the Phoenix effect that we had in the previous film.
Which
that
looks
finery
cool.
stuff. Yeah. We don't even have that.
So somebody showed Brett Ratner where this happens in the comics, and then it got...
Sure.
Da-da-da-da-da-da! Previously
This
on
score
X-Men.
is appropriately epic.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, can we get some people in? Like, oh, 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 oh. Da-da-da, da-da-da, oh, oh. That's the score. This is real dumb. Okay, so there's a thing about these movies.
You're not a great opera singer, Eric.
No. I'm not a great singer in general. But there's a thing about these movies. You always say 2 does not a pattern make.
2 does not a pattern make.
But 3 does.
Yes. And there have been 3 of these movies.
3 movies in a row ends with Wolverine abusing women. All 3 of them ends with him
abusing women.
He stabs Mystique through the stomach. He puts the things inside. He's always fighting women.
Yeah.
He's always stabbing them and hurting them.
You said ends with, and I'm like, well, those are a little bit earlier in the movie, so I wasn't even thinking about what examples we were talking about. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah.
In your third act, Wolverine
is always fighting women.
Brutalize a woman in order to win. Now, it's not like it's just a weird thing that you would keep doing. That's
the thing.
It's not that in any of those moments you don't understand why he has to do that. I mean, he's acting in self-defense or in defense of everybody else.
But it's 3 movies.
Yeah. It'd be great if you had made an X-Men form. It'd be great if it opened with Wolverine having a total complex about that. Right?
That's what he should be having nightmares about in the Wolverine.
And it's always with no one else around watching.
Yeah.
No one ever sees him do it. Maybe somebody saw
No
him,
one knows.
Maybe somebody saw him stab Mystique. I'm not sure about that.
No, they're in that. Remember, the doors are closed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
no one knows that
it.
Wolverine is constantly stabbing women.
He could be like a really reprehensible human being. Nobody knows it. Oh wow, that's funny. It'd be great if he was like talking to a psychiatrist.
I don't mean to do that. I just keep getting put in these situations.
He's like, there was this one time where I was fighting this woman who kept doing this, and at the end of it, I had to pump her entire body full of adamantium. I don't do this on purpose. It's not like a sexual fetish or something.
It just keeps happening.
It just keeps happening. This was absurd to me in the theater for some reason, where it was almost like they were just coming out and going, look how many people we've killed! This is actually another funeral.
Yeah.
And we have to count it, unlike the way we've been doing boardrooms, because these are two separate
funerals.
Well, actually, this isn't a funeral, is it? They're just standing there.
Well, they must have had a funeral.
Okay, well, we can't count it, though. It's not a funeral scene.
Okay.
You see, and I told you about that. I told you that was just them standing there. But you argued with me, and I thought you were right, because I have no self-esteem.
So
I was right about that.
This is awful. There's an alternate scene on the DVD where she doesn't get rid of her powers.
Right.
Why? You took her out of this movie. Just give her the ending that she's supposed to have, where she doesn't make the choice. This isn't where this character goes.
Yeah, and it just leaves us in such an unnecessarily bleak thing.
She gets her powers back in Days of Future Past too.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's okay, because you have to assume that the cure
that's in the road cut.
You have to assume the cure didn't work. Because Magneto has his powers in that.
Yeah.
No, everybody that lost it gets it back.
Yeah, she's got egg on her face.
Yeah, she does.
This is real cartoonish.
You know how I want this movie to end? I want it to be like, or maybe like a mid-credit scene, right? So you have like the piece, and then you go back to this press conference, and then that's Mystique. like the president's eyes flash, and that's Mystique.
Look how nice.
We should do that every time.
Look how nice I keep my lawn.
No, we should be thinking.
Really?
Now that Professor X is gone, I don't know how we're gonna keep this lawn so nice. I'm just picturing Professor X doing all the yard work.
3 movies, never blown up. It'd be real stupid if someone made cracks about how often this mansion blows up.
This is...
So,
is one of the
so
least
who put the
hopeful-
Golden Gate Bridge back? Is it back?
That's a really good question. No, I don't think it is.
Oh, no, it's
still
not.
messed up.
Okay,
It's still messed up.
okay.
Would you stop? I'm trying to watch Birdwing Man. Okay? Birdwing Man!
He's my third favorite mutant that has bird-based powers. The first being Beak, of course.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If Beak's not in
then
Deadpool
Angel,
2...
and then Birdwing Man.
If Beak is not in X-Men 2, in Deadpool 2, I will be shocked.
Really?
He's the dumbest character. His power is that he looks like a bird. He doesn't fly, he doesn't...
Oh, yeah.
He just
I
looks like
forgot
a
about
bird.
that.
Who's he playing against? Is he playing against himself?
Yeah.
Is he good enough to do that?
He's just sitting there. He's just become one of the old men who plays chess
Now,
in the
I'm not a New Yorker. Maybe someone who is from New York can tell me. Is this still a real thing? Because we have so many things in movies that used to be a thing that we just keep doing.
Yeah.
How we portray high schools,
The circus.
orphanages. They just don't exist.
Yeah.
So it's Simon Kinberg and Zach Penn.
Zach Penn.
Zach Penn is all over these bad movies. Although he writes Incredible Hulk, all right.
I don't think if you were Magneto, you would sit in the middle of a park like that, because even with a hat on, people are gonna recognize you. People are gonna somebody's gonna look over. I mean, yeah, you're around like a bunch of old people, at least some of whom are probably really senile or have dementia. But look, somebody at some point is gonna turn over you and look at you and be like, I think that's that guy who on the news the other day.
That major terrorist?
I think that's that guy on the news the other day that was like, you will not be safe.
So
I just think you would remember that.
So yeah. Simon Kinberg wrote this movie. He's one of the two writers on this movie. And we gave him Apocalypse. And we gave him Van Forstic. And he's running the Marvel
Why do
end
we
of
keep
Fox.
doing that then?
Why are we surprised by Apocalypse? It's the same movie as this. Everyone disintegrates in that too.
Yeah, why are we still giving him movies? Because Days of Future Past was both critically and commercially successful.
And I don't think he wrote that one.
No. That was I mean, I don't know if there was another scriptwriter on top of Vaughn.
It's not
and
Vaughn plots it. He doesn't script it.
Yeah, I know, but he's involved in story. Is all I'm saying.
His reason for not writing that script is the best reason I've ever heard.
But Singer still has an actual scriptwriting credit on that, does he not?
I don't know.
Or is it just story?
I thought he just had story.
Anyways,
Vaughn's reason for not writing Days of Future Past is the best reason I've ever heard. He didn't want to deal with time travel.
Yep.
He goes, I like thinking about it. I don't have to actually deal with writing it.
That's the only reason he wouldn't do it.
It's great. But yeah, no, I don't think Simon Kinberg writes that movie or writes.
That's a fun story after you've seen the movie, and it's awesome.
But
if he was supposed to write on Apocalypse and he was like, yeah, I don't like big godlike creatures, I would have been like, God, Vaughn, just do the job, okay? Just do it.
No, there was some bad blood on Days of Future Past. He wasn't told, like, he made First Class and thought he was going to get to make Days of Future Past. Bryan Singer had first dibs.
Oh.
And they didn't tell him that.
I didn't know that.
He assumed that he would be first pick because he directed the last one. Bryan Singer had first
he wanted
dibs.
to direct the next one.
Theoretically. But once he found that out, it really ticked him off.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so he left and goes and makes Kingsman. But yeah, no, that could have been directed by Vaughn.
And I mean, Kingsman's a cool movie and all, but the thing is, I kind of wish. I mean, I love Days of Future Past, and it wouldn't have been the same if Vaughn had directed it. On the other hand, Apocalypse might have been better. It's hard to go back and, in hindsight, really know what the history would have been. Obviously,
and with how big Days of Future Past was, like, it's entirely possible that Vaughn also would have been burnt out after making that movie and would not have wanted to make Apocalypse as quickly.
Well, I think that only happens because Singer is there, like, let's rush it out.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I don't know if that was a Fox thing or a Singer thing.
You know what Apocalypse feels like? I guess we can talk about when we get to Apocalypse. It feels like
because
Jurassic
they knew
Park
while
2.
they were directing it.
Have you ever heard Steven Spielberg talk about Jurassic Park 2? Where he talked about how excited he was to make that movie, and halfway through he realized, oh, I don't want to make this movie.
Ugh.
That's what Apocalypse feels like. Is when he's making Days of Future Past, he's like, yeah, I'm back in my element. I'm so excited. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do another one. I don't really want to do another one. Not yet. Not right now.
I kind of would rather just go home and play with my kids and sleep a little bit. Yeah.
But, So yeah, this movie's bad.
It wasn't painful to sit here and talk about with you, though.
Well, it goes by so fast.
Yeah.
And
and again, I don't feel as strong. I know you said you never felt strongly about it. I did, like, really strongly about it.
It's so, like...
And it feels like an old franchise now. You know, it's like it's not even part of that.
Well, it's not.
Because at this point, it's not.
But it's so,
it's hard to get worked up about it.
Passively bad. Like, it's so quick, and we're just doing so much, but not doing anything. Like, it just washes over you, and I can't grab onto anything and be like, I hate this! It's, well, that's dumb, and yep, we shouldn't have done that, and that's bad.
But it still does feel a little bit accidentally mean-spirited.
Yeah.
Our hearts were not in the right place on them.
No. Obviously, they're rushing out, Superman Returns, there's that whole thing.
Yeah. It's real lacking in heart.
Because Bryan Singer says, I'll come back, let me make Superman Returns, and I will make X-Men 3. And they're like, nope, screw you, we're going to put X-Men 3 out the same summer.
Yeah, you can't blame him for this, really.
No. He wanted to make this movie. He just wanted to make Superman Returns before.
Just because I don't like Superman Returns doesn't mean I can really dog on him for leaving and making that. Because if that had been great, we'd be glad that he went and did it.
Yeah. New Deal Studios. It's weird. New Deal what? Was there an Old Deal Studios? Was there a Deal Studios? Are you the New Deal Studios?
No, it's like the New Deal. I mean, there's a lot of things that are just based on historical things. We tend to do that a lot. Like 1492, stuff like that.
Well, that's because that's Chris Columbus' company.
History. No, I know, but...
And that's about as much imagination as that man has. City of Vancouver. Oh, that's why those woods looked familiar. They look just like Man-Thing.
I was gonna say after Man-Thing, I'm a lot more hesitant to say, oh, it must be Vancouver, because that was Australia. But we make a lot of things on Australia too. Moira. Oh, Moira was in this movie. Remember that?
Yeah. So she quit her FBI her FBI job, and and she became a doctor. That's good.
So the big two problems I have with that thing, of course, are A, it is kind of a throwaway line of dialogue that that mutant is there, and that it's just a cadaver that Professor X could go into, and kind of a cadaver, and B, that I think it's silly that it looks like he turns his head and speaks in Patrick Stewart's voice. It should be clearly in her mind, right?
Yeah. No, you're right.
Assuming that he would still have his powers, I guess that's not a given.
Yeah.
That he would get his consciousness in that body, and just because he had the ability to put himself there, he would still be able to use his powers after. That's not a given.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but
we'll never follow up on that plot point again.
No, we won't. No, and Wolverine will say, "How is this possible?" And then we'll never get an answer to that question.
Yeah.
Anyway, anything else you wanted to say before we say adios?
It certainly is a big moving menu.
Everybody, thanks as always for watching. Sure appreciate it. Tomorrow we're gonna do Spider-Man 3.
No, Ghost Rider.
He's a Ghost Rider. That's right, it's Ghost Rider. Okay, I was gonna say this and that back to back would have been crazy.
Yeah.
Ghost Rider tomorrow.
There's a watchable film in between.
And I haven't seen that in a really long time.
I haven't seen it in a long time either.
I gave it a 2. I thought it was right down the middle.
Yeah.
The last time I saw it.
It's around Fantastic Four, I think.
So that's what we'll be doing. We'll be watching a movie with Eric's favorite actor, Nicolas Cage.
He's great!
Thanks again, folks. We sure appreciate it. I am Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
See you tomorrow. Sarah.